Welcome to the first cooking class of this week, because we're going to make hutspot, and hutspot is
like the most typical food of Leiden, I would say.
a very typical food of Leiden with a rich history and a lot of stories attached to it. So while cooking, we will talk about those and also some more about the 3rd of October, Dutch food, student life in Leiden. Just let's get started.
Fun facts and cool recipes. Okay.
So you start with 1.5 kilos. This is approximately for 4 persons. You start off with 1.5 kilos of carrots, and you cut them just in pieces.
Small pieces. I'd say like the smaller the pieces, the least time you need to cook them. So just cut them small, I'd say.
Yeah.
And also you need approximately the same amount of potatoes. So also about 1.5 kilos. And about 0.5 kilos of onion. I'll start by cutting the onion first.
So the 3rd of October, it's actually, it happened a long time ago in 1574.
Yeah.
This is, you need to know this year.
Remember
Fun it
fact. No, it's
when you come study at Leiden.
It will definitely appear in some quiz sometime, so.
And basically it's still celebrated every year. The celebration started pretty quickly after the Spanish left. What were the Spanish doing in the Netherlands?
Yeah. They were just living here. No. They were occupying the Netherlands. The Spanish were occupying the Netherlands, and first actually that was pretty peaceful.
They were not really occupying the Netherlands. The Spanish king was the king of the Netherlands as well because of European royal politics.
They were
Philip
ruling the Netherlands.
Yes, Philip II. But at a certain point, the Dutch were fed up with the Spanish, and they started to revolt. And what is always said is that it's because the Spanish were Catholic, and the Dutch wanted to be Protestant, or at least have freedom of faith. And then, the Netherlands didn't want to listen to the Spanish anymore.
Yeah.
And they revolted. And
then Spain thought, nope, we're gonna do this with force.
Yeah, basically boils down to that.
Right.
And one of the, why it's so important for Leiden is at a certain point the Spanish started a siege on Leiden, and this siege lasted a long time, so there was famine in the city, and in the end Leiden was liberated on the 3rd of October 1574, and by the Geuzen, who were, it was an army.
The Watergeuzen. So it was an army that operated via the water.
Yeah, the water geese. No. The water geese.
No. The translation that Wikipedia says is the water baggers. The baggers, they called it.
Anyway, that was the army. William of Orange, who had fled and was resisting Philip II, had gotten together, and they were fighting against the Spaniards. And at a certain point, the Spaniards, because the Geuzen were approaching, the Spaniards fled and stopped the siege of Leiden. And the moment they then when the Leidenaren, so the citizens of Leiden, went out to the place where the Spanish had their camp first, they found a bowl of what we now know as Hutspot, allegedly. It was very well. So the Spaniards would have left that there. It was definitely it's kind of a nice story anyway, and how a yearly tradition was born. But if there was Hutspot at all, like we now know it, it was definitely, instead of potatoes, it would have had parsnips, because potatoes were not yet introduced to Europe at the time. They were later brought here from Southern America. Yes.
So yeah, like the modern
Nice
Hutspot that we're making, it has a lot of different components actually, because also the meat that we're putting in there today is not the traditional meat that is supposed to be in there, but we're kind of making a easier student-y version. It just takes a lot less time to make, because the original meat is called klapstuk, and it's a part of the cow, but it needs to boil for a few hours or something.
Well, for an hour.
Right. So, but this is another sausage. It's called rookworst, like smoked sausage, and it's basically already cooked. You just need to heat it up, and then it's nice. And that's also like used in a lot of typical Dutch dishes.
Yeah.
So we thought, why not use this?
And today we're using vegetarian rookworst, which is
vegetarian.
Yeah, no, but I mean it's sold around the Netherlands. You can just buy it at the supermarket. And so like Jess said, rookworst is eaten with more typical Dutch food.
The stampot.
And yeah, Hutspot is also a kind of stampot. And stampot, it usually has potatoes. Or it always has potatoes.
It definitely has potatoes.
It
Yeah.
has.
Potatoes and vegetables.
Yeah.
And then the kind of vegetables you can mix. So you have either kale, I think that's one of the most famous ones, or endive. I really like the endive one.
Oh, I don't like that one.
Oh, I don't like the kale one.
Oh, I love the kale one.
Nice. Then we will not steal each other's food, which is great.
I might steal your Hutspot.
I can live with that. We can also share.
Dude, you can't say that. You're supposed to love this.
I don't know if I love it. I can be honest about that. I don't know. I haven't eaten this for years, and I'm gonna try it again. Like as a kid, I didn't really like this food. I must say.
Great
honestly.
advertisement. Great.
Yeah. No, but
I love this food as a kid because it's kind of savory and sweet at the same time. Because the carrots make it pretty sweet, actually. And well, since I moved to Leiden, I ate this every year on the 3rd of October.
Do you also eat it on other days, or like really only once a year?
I eat it at my parents sometimes, but to be honest, when I make it, I always, for myself, I only make it on the 2nd, 3rd of October. Because there is some debate about on which date do you eat Hutspot.
Yeah.
What the 3rd of October is, it actually already starts on the 2nd of October, where Jesus.
Don't cut yourself.
No, I know, but the carrot is like
resisting.
Not soft.
We'll boil it down until it's really soft later.
But the 2nd, 3rd of October, it's a huge happening in the city.
Absolutely.
Have you had a 3rd of October here?
Yeah, I celebrated like 4 times I think now, and it's always like, as you said, the official celebration would be on the 3rd, but because everyone, like all students, all workers of Leiden are free on the 3rd of October, we usually actually celebrate it on the 2nd, because then we can sleep on the 3rd.
Big parties are on the 2nd of October.
Right, so we can just party hard and then sleep on the 3rd. But there are also on the 3rd there are quite a lot of interesting things going on. For example, the herring and white bread festival.
Yes, that's another story which is very much related to the Spanish Siege still. And also, yeah, it's a very, I think, like Lightson said, is one of the earliest and longest standing traditions in the Netherlands. Actually.
Probably, yeah.
They have celebrated it since just after the Spanish Siege. And with the haring en witte, well, it's herring and white bread. In Dutch it would be haring en wittebrood.
Yeah, because like the Dutch, like the Leiden citizens, they were really starved almost to death. And then when they were freed on the 3rd of October, the people that came, those watergeuzen, they brought herring and white bread. So to save the people from starvation, that was kind of the first meal they've had in a pretty long time.
Yeah.
And that's why it became a tradition to go eat that on the morning of the 3rd of October. It's which place? I think the Waag, right?
Yeah, the Waag. It's this also old building.
Very old. Very beautiful. It's really nice.
The Waag is, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It has a pretty nice place to get drinks nowadays.
Yeah, it is a nice restaurant, cafe. What is it? Yeah.
And also in summer, it's just on the water side. So in summer,
Love it.
It's when restaurants are open.
Yep. Go there for sure.
Yeah, go there. It's fun because in summer also these the canals of Leiden will be full of boats, and that's always a great feast.
Also in winter, the canals are gorgeous though. Especially like normal Christmas times, it's really nice because then they have like the floating Christmas market on the canals. But
we were talking about herring and wittebrood.
Where were we going? We were talking about herring and white bread.
Yeah, the thing is, it's distributed on the 3rd of October, early in the morning, really early in the morning.
What time? Like 6 or something?
Yeah, it started like 6 or 7.
And then,
but the thing about it is, if you are a citizen of Leiden officially and you have registered at the municipality as a citizen of Leiden, then you can actually, I think somewhere in September, early September, you can go to the Waag already and register. And if you do that, you get your herring and white bread for free. Because it's still something the municipality gives to its citizens.
And the lines for that registration are so long. When you walk in the city on that day, you just see the whole city center is just one big line of people waiting to register for herring and white bread.
Have you ever had herring and white bread on the...
No, I actually never even ate herring, and I am not really attracted by it, I must say.
Okay.
I'm just not really a fish fan, so...
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I mean, to be honest, so I have never had herring and white bread on the 3rd of October, because the parties on the 2nd of October are pretty...
They continue for quite some time.
Yeah, they continue. So... At least there is a big party in the city center till 2 at night. And then usually the bars stay open till like 3, 4. Or you go to a house party. A lot of people also organize smaller parties in student houses, for example.
It was also part of the city tour. There you go across this bridge where they say this can be a main stage for parties. That's also where the big parties of 3rd of October are. Then they put like the dance floor, they just put like a floating thing on the water, and the bridge is the main stage, and they throw good parties. Really nice.
Yes.
So yeah, they continue for quite some time, and then the morning after, I wouldn't want to go there at 6 to eat herring and white bread.
I mean, no, me neither. And I have to be honest as well, I started to learn to eat herring in the past years. It's a pretty...
How long did it take you until you liked it?
Well, it's not... I mean, when I was younger, I didn't like it. And then at a certain point, I was like, you know what? Let me try this again, because the last time I tasted this was more than 10 years ago. You know, something
Give
like that.
Give it another chance.
I will give it another chance.
Like I'm doing with the Hutspot now.
Like you're doing with it. You will like it.
I am sure
There's
I will like it.
There's no way you won't like it.
Yeah, how you learned how
I learned to eat it. Well, it's a pretty, herring. I was like, I will try it again, and it's a pretty fatty kind of fish, and I didn't like that before. But by now, yeah, I think
It's okay.
put a lot of onion on it.
Raw
That's
onion,
my
right?
tip. Raw onion, yeah.
That's weird. I think that's
I love
such
it.
a weird thing of.
So,
Very
but it's definitely something you have to try when here in the Netherlands.
Yeah, do it. You're slow. I'm taking over your carrots now. I already did the onions and the potatoes.
How even? Yeah, to be honest, always when I cook it takes ages because I'm pretty slow actually.
That's fine.
But I just love cooking and enjoy the moment.
If you like it, then yeah, you should extend the moment.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. No, so yeah, go try herring and white bread, but maybe on another day than the 3rd of October. I would say.
Yeah, there's this fish stand at the station, which is I think pretty popular. Do watch out for the seagulls though, because they will steal your your fish.
on the Wednesday and Saturday, it's market day in Leiden, so there are always fish stands there as well.
When you're there, also try kibbeling, which is also a pretty Dutch thing. It's like deep fried pieces of white fish with a layer.
Cod usually with a layer of spices.
It's so nice.
That's good.
Like I don't really like fish, but that I do really.
It's
like.
nearly not fish anymore. Probably why you like it.
Probably just a shitload of fat. Well, it's nice. Like especially when you put extra spice on it, then it's.
Yeah.
So once you finally finish chopping all these carrots, potatoes, and onions, then it's time to cook it. But yeah, I'll just wait for a little bit. I think step 1 is just to fry up the onions a little bit, and then you're gonna add the carrots and the potatoes, and then you boil it for quite some time.
Oh, that's.
I think is that what your recipe says as well? That's what my plan
so
was.
the
at
thing
least.
with Hutspot is there are like as many recipes as there are families in the Netherlands, basically. So Jazz has a different recipe. Wow, my hands are orange.
You became a carrot going to the hotspot.
Then you won't have a president anymore.
Oh shit. Okay, please stay here.
No, but there are as many. Like if you Google it, every recipe will be different. And apparently Jess' recipe says fry on the onion first, and my recipe says put everything in the pot and just let it boil.
Okay. Let's do that. I trust this book. It's like a traditional book. So
it has more
the holy grail
Dutch
of Dutch food
in it. So yes, let's get on to the next step, I would say.
Boil. Put it in a pan.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you put the pan on the fire, full heat actually to start with. Put in the onions and all the carrots and potatoes.
You need a really big pot for this, as you can see.
This is approximately for like 4 or 5 persons. Whoop.
Maybe even more.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're making it for yourself, you don't need those 1.5 kilos of vegetables. But
and for now we're putting in around 400 milliliters. It's basically, this has to boil and the water is in there so it doesn't stick to the pan, doesn't burn. Put the lid on. Thank you. And keep it on full heat until it's boiling. You will probably hear it basically.
and then be patient.
Yeah,
Yeah.
be patient.
Once this is boiling, you can reduce the heat a little bit. Not too much. Make sure it keeps boiling. Also check the water levels, that once it's dry, add more water. I think this water should be fine, but just make sure it doesn't burn. Also add a little bit of salt still for extra flavor. And then you let it boil for about 20 minutes, I'd say. You can just like try it with a fork to see if it's soft already. Yeah, so now we wait again.
20 minutes later.
Once you have boiled everything till it's soft, it's time to start mashing.
It's not hot water came up. Watch out for hot water.
I always also realized that me holding this was not the most sexy thing ever.
Yeah, then use all your aggression to get this into a puree. That's basically what the next step is.
And you have the other thing. Milk!
Yes, milk. So to make it a bit more smooth, we're gonna add a splash of milk. Just watch out for your hand. I think like this. A little splash and a little bit of the butter as well. To make it extra creamy. I see the aggression is going very well here, love it. Oh yeah. Okay, just some butter. Yes, make it nice and soft.
Nice and creamy.
Yes. Add some more black pepper as well. A lot, because we have a lot of fruit. And some nutmeg.
Yeah, it is. It is.
I know it is.
Yeah.
A little bit more salt, or?
I think there is quite some.
Let's taste it first when you're done mashing.
Season to taste.
Exactly. Looks good.
I think you can taste it now.
Well, let's try this. That's hot. But good. I really like it. Yeah.
Yes?
Tiny bit of salt. Yeah. It's good.
Okay. We can. I thought it was.
Yeah, I forgot it. And of course, do not forget your sausage. You can prepare it according to the instructions on the package, which we will do now.
So, plating, not very difficult. Just grab a big spoon and put it on your plate as much as you want. I think. Yeah.
Do you want the sausage in slices?
Yes.
Shall we do it? Like this. Slice of the sausage. Nice.
And your good spot is ready to eat.
Enjoy.
Enjoy! Do we open up the camera?
Yeah.
Yes!
I didn't even see what happened, but